had a tumour that involved major surgery and I lost a third of my stomach. Money is not everything. I now do not feel guilty for taking a day off. I don't feel guilty for turning down jobs that I feel are going to cause me immense stress. I don't feel guilty anymore because you only live one life and life is very, very precious.
I know exactly what Jane means. If you've been listening to me and Anatomy of a Leader for some time, you know that I recently had heart surgery. And I can tell you, nothing brings clarity faster than staring your immortality in the face. You realize that success, money, achievement, they mean nothing if you don't have the health and freedom to enjoy them. That's why, coming back to this podcast after a much needed break, I wanted to go deeper, to share more inspiring stories and more of my own. So hit follow or subscribe and come along for the ride. In this episode, I talk with Jane Means, founder, author, TV star, and undisputed queen of rapping. She's wrapped gifts for King Charles and Camilla, A-listers, and luxury brands like Dior, Cartier, and Harrods. For over 30 years, she's turned a simple detail into high art, building a global business from something most people overlook, the power of presentation. And just like me, Jane's perspective on work and success was reshaped by a major health challenge, a powerful reminder that life is precious and it's never too late to do things on your own terms. Here is Jane Means. Jane.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello. Welcome to Anatomy of a Leader.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to talking with you, Jane. And thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
Well, we'll get right in there. You are the undisputed queen of rapping.
I am indeed.
And work with the most amazing brands. And I have to say, it's not something that I even thought is a business, but it's a business of yours that you rap for, really big luxury brands, for Harrods, Chanel, Tiffany's, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a impressive roster. How did you get started in that? How did that happen?
Do you know what? That is the $1 million question I'm always asked. And it was about, I'm going to give my age away here. 30 years ago this year, I had a dream where certainly in sort of London, in England, we just didn't do rapping. And yet you'd pop over to Europe, to Paris or Belgium or Switzerland, and things were beautifully wrapped free of charge. And I did a recce in London one day and nobody did it. And the two people who did it badly. And I had all these ideas and thought, I'm going to start gift wrapping classes. And nobody took me seriously. I did a teaching certificate at college, started running them. And one class would be fully booked, the next would have no bookings at all. So it was a real roller coaster for the first 5 years. And then I suppose the way I sort of got going was local press were very, very supportive. I was up in Lincolnshire at the time. And so that gave me confidence and they were with me all the way. And then the Country Living Fair here in London, I decided to sort of bite the bullet and take a stand. And that was amazing because it opened doors where they did a feature on me in the magazine. I was introduced to sort of PR and publicity, and I didn't even know how to write a press release until I did that. And I suppose that's really what got me going. And then suddenly social media came in and websites, and that certainly helped me grow. So yeah, that's really how I got started.
I was Googling you and I came across a video that was 3.7 million views on how to tie a bow.
I know. It's nuts, isn't it?
It's amazing.
It's nuts that,
yeah.
You put a video up on something like TikTok or Instagram Reels and you think, this is not going to get many hits. And that one you were talking about, I actually had a really bad cold and I'd got the husky voice.
Maybe that's what did it.
Yeah. But I was amazed at the popularity of that one little video, which is 30 seconds? So
I think it's a minute.
Yeah, it felt like 30 seconds.
Was that a moment that changed things for you?
Yes, I suppose when you are, if you call it an artist or a creative, you always sort of doubt yourself at the beginning. And I've always thought, I'm not good enough to do that. And then when you see that, you think, actually, there's something in that's that's obviously not bad at all.
Yeah.
But I'm very down to earth.
You're going to judge me for this, I'm sure, is that I've stopped wrapping gifts completely.
Have you?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm very torn because I think wrapped gifts look really beautiful. But A, I run out of time. So I'm constantly like running out the door and I haven't got the time to wrap it. And two, there is that moment of, if I'm wrapping a gift, it's only going to be unwrapped and it's literally seconds that a person sees it. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally get that. I have people on my courses who are working mums, busy professionals, time poor, and quite often they'll say, Jane, can you come and do my wrapping at Christmas? That is totally understandable. And, some people will have a stash of gift bags that they can use, and they're brilliant as well for recycling. Some people will have like those furoshiki cloths which wrap anything, and again, they can be recycled. And other people just have some tissue and a little bit of string or ribbon and do it that way. So there are ways, and I understand.
But what about more sustainable options?
So I think the three options that I've mentioned are great. And I don't stock gift bags on my own website because that sort of goes against my thread where I teach people how to wrap. But they are good for recycling. And if you can get the ones without any sort of foil or plastic or glitter, and even like if you've written on the gift tag that comes with the bag, you simply take the tag off and just pop a new one on, or tie in a decoration or some foliage. That's a good way. But obviously just try and use less and go for anything that can be recycled. Like all my paper is with vegetable ink and recyclable. So just try and be as green as you can.
So are you saying that gift bags are worse than wrapping the gift?
I think as long as they can be right at the end, they can be recycled. That is absolutely fine. It's the glitter bags that you see, the ones covered in plastic that they're going to go into landfill. So, and luckily we're seeing, now on the high street, a lot more sustainable gift bags and packaging, which is brilliant.
What's the weirdest gift you had to wrap?
Oh, golly, that's a tricky one. I would say
something we don't talk about enough, especially 10, 15, 20 years into a career, is how easy it is to run on autopilot. We chase goals based on who we think we should be instead of who we actually are. I was definitely guilty of that. Maybe you felt that too. That relentless push to keep striving, keep achieving, never stopping to ask, even if it's something that you want. In my previous episode about my heart surgery, I told you that I would slow down and work on fewer things. Well, quite frankly, I haven't had a choice. But I've been mindful to let myself work on just one thing. The thing that I wish I had 10, 15 years ago. And now I want to share it with you. The Anatomy of a Leader Diary. I've put everything I've learned and lived into it. It's a 10-week journey to help you finally listen to yourself, finesse your emotional intelligence, and lead from the inside out. I've taken out all of the to-do lists. There are no productivity hacks. This is the first prototype, and I can't believe I'm actually holding it in my hand. I'm planning to launch on Kickstarter, and if you have any tips, let me know in the comments. You can join the waiting list now and become a founding member for just $1. The link is in the description. I can't wait for you to try it.
It was when I was in Great Story. I was in Glasgow, Country Living Fair up there a long time ago. And I was on stage, mic'd up, massive audience, right in the middle of this exhibition centre. And in the corner of my eye, I'm doing my presentation, in the corner of my eye, I spot this rocking horse coming down on a trolley. And I was laughing to myself, thinking, God, wouldn't that be funny if I had to wrap that? And it got nearer and nearer. And, like you're smiling and suddenly your smile starts to drop with this horror. And the chap who's got the trolley is waving at me, a guy called Mark Stevenson. And Stevenson rocking horses are very well known. They make them for the Royals. And he's quite a gregarious chap. And he started waving and I just thought, I know what's coming. And he said, hi, audience, would you like to see Jane wrap my rocking horse? And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. So I literally had to get somebody out of the audience to run back to my stand. I think my mum was helping me at this show because it was early days when you grab grab your family to come and help you. And I think we literally had about 10 rolls of like plastic film, because it was back in the days when you could have plastic wrapping and it wasn't frowned upon. And I'm not kidding. We were literally like trying to join all these, panels up with sellotape. It was utter carnage. And then I must have got probably 12 audience members, and it was like okey cokey cokey going in the middle to cover this blooming rocking horse. It looked shocking, by the way, but it was such good fun, and everybody was laughing and lots of cameras.
I don't know what I would, to be honest, apart from the fact that I don't wrap gifts, I'm actually a very good rapper. If I so, if I
you're
can say
wasted,
so myself.
Maria.
Maybe I should come and work with you. But
So yeah,
there was a moment in time when I would enjoy that process, and I would be the person who would be wrapping everybody's gifts because I can see how awful everybody else was. And so this kind of like making sure the corners are crisp, making sure like you fold in the edge of the paper.
Good girl.
I know that you love a double-sided tape.
Oh yeah.
But that seemed like a little bit more faff than, like a Scotch tape kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then like a bow or a ribbon. There was a moment when I did enjoy that, but mostly around Christmases. But that's before I had kids.
I know. And suddenly your time goes.
But how do you make sure that you create quality for all of the things that you're wrapping? Because how I've understood the projects you do are literally like, you've got like 800 products.
Yeah.
And then you have to wrap them with your team.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you maintain the quality?
I'm very lucky. So my team, there's about 20 of us, and I've handpicked them usually from courses that I run around the UK. And also, some team members, I will have trained staff at Harrods or Fortnum and Mason or Selfridges, and they will approach me maybe after they've left and will say, I'm no longer at Harrods, but have you got any jobs? And I know that their standards are excellent. So even before we start doing a wrapping job, I know that I have got the best team in the world for a start. And also on the day or the days, because often they're big jobs, I will be quite honest and say, right, guys, we've got, 1,000 products to do. Does anybody want to volunteer tying the bows, or does anybody want to do the cutting or the measuring? And they're pretty honest. So, I know for a while I had poorly wrists. I had repetitive strain. So I said, does anybody mind if I don't do the bow tying? I don't mind doing the sticking, but my wrists are really struggling at the moment. So I can normally sort of delegate bits around, and obviously people who've got those relevant skills are put onto their relevant projects, and then we'll swap around a bit.
So it's handpicking people for the different parts of the job.
Yeah.
That's the process, the system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And there's always quality control. So occasionally, it doesn't happen very often, but I'll say, look, we just can't get away. We're going to have to redo that one again. I make mistakes as well, so it's not just my team. I probably have a moment where I've in a hurry cut it too short and gone, I've made a mistake, and I'm the first to put my hand up to say I've cocked up a bit, but I'll just redo it.
So if you spot a mistake by somebody in your team, what do you do?
I'm just polite about it. I just go, I'm really sorry, but we can't get away with that.
So you're having to redo it, essentially.
Yeah. They know that I'm brutal, but I'm gentle with it. I'm not hopefully an ogre.
I can't see that in you, honestly. What's the most high-profile client you've had?
Oh, goodness. Now, unfortunately, some of the high-profile ones I can't talk about because I've had to sign my life away for secrecy. Yeah. But I have...
So just without naming, so is that private individuals?
Yeah.
For, I don't know, big weddings or birthdays?
So they could be anyone from royalty through to fashion designers to celebrities, the very super wealthy. I have to sort of keep very quiet who I work for, because I find if you don't ask questions and you don't blab, you get a lot more work. So, but I know I've had wonderful experiences where I've had King Charles's private secretary and they won't mind me saying this, I've trained them, so I know that whatever gift wrapping is done for Charles and Camilla on a personal level, I have trained those staff, which is wonderful. But yeah, who else have I done that I can talk about? Certainly TV people like Richard and Judy Madeley, Kirsty Allsop, I've done some wrapping for her. I'll keep racking my brains on that one.
When it's such a high profile client, do you feel the pressure to deliver?
No, I don't, because to me, it's just another day's work,
Yeah.
and every day has to be perfect, as in quality control. So I think the only time that I can get a little bit nervous is when there is something very, very expensive or very breakable, and I'm sort of feeling a little bit like I've got to be very careful on this, that.
What kind of thing?
So it could be something breakable. I did it was a clock back in, it was probably 20 years ago, and it was a client up in Cambridge with an antiques business, and I had a shop in Covent Garden Market, and they rang me up. It was before emails really and social media. It was that long ago, and they rang me up and said, Jane, we've got a very important item going out to a client. If we drive down from Cambridge, could you wrap it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. What is it? It's a clock. Yep, that's fine. Just head on down. I'll make sure I've got a slot free, because it was lunchtime and we were likely to be busy. So gentleman came in, very well dressed, and my colleague had a little look at the clock, and she said, do you know what, Jane, I think we should just close the shop for 10 minutes just to get this clock wrapped, because we don't want any accidents. And I didn't think anything of it. And it was this beautiful clock going out to Russia, to an oligarch, and it was a marble clock with like a gold dome on it. It sounds quite gauche, but it was actually very, very elegant. And so it was one of those items you couldn't turn upside down. You had to wrap it as it was. And anyway, we wrapped it. The client was very happy. Off they went and delivered it to the townhouse in Chelsea somewhere. And it wasn't until the door closed and the clock went out wrapped that my colleague said, Jane, do you know how much that clock was worth? I said, I've got no idea. It's lovely though. I wouldn't mind one myself. And she said, it's in excess of £40,000. And this was like a long time ago. So that was like, okay.
It's better not to know.
Yeah, definitely.
Has something ever got broken?
Not to my knowledge, whilst we've been doing it. Now, when it goes in transit, I'm sure we'd have heard about it because we package it well, but touch wood, not yet.
You seem like an unflappable person.
I am unflappable. I'm very calm. I've had all sorts of jobs working with the public. I think I was probably more flappable in a restaurant as a waitress when I was 16, when you have 10 people asking you things and you're trying to sort of get through that, which I think for me was brilliant experience. And working with the public, you can't beat it. And I think you either love it or you don't. But the things that make my job tricky are, say, when you arrive to a job and the items haven't arrived, or it could be, you're on a time scale and suddenly, you've quoted the client, okay, it's going to take me so many hours and it's going to cost you so much money to do it. And then they've actually added to that order and they've said, actually, we're going at 2:00 this afternoon, so you need to hurry up. That can sometimes be a little bit tricky. But I'm one of those people that I'm very down to earth. And if I know that I'm going to struggle to fulfill something, I'll be straight and honest and say, we're going to struggle to do that. How about I do the first 25 and the last 5, let's see if we can get them done. So there's always a solution usually.
It's interesting because the business of wrapping or the process of wrapping, that is something that you 100% control, and you've created a system that works very, very well. And the other things that you're talking about that can frustrate you is the things that are completely outside of your control, and having to deal with those.
And I've had a few instances where we're at the sort of inquiry stage, and some things are just, I'm not going to say impossible, but are really hard work. The client is continually changing their mind. They move the goalposts, and it's very rare that I do this, but sometimes I just feel we can't fulfill this because of the time or the limitations, and we'll actually step away from a job. It doesn't happen very often, but there are times where you think, I would prefer to walk away now than, get all the way down the line and they're not happy with it and get bad feedback.
Yeah. How did you get the title of the Queen of Wrapping?
I've had all sorts of titles. I know the Daily Mail sort of early days called me the gift wrap guru, and the gift wrapping queen has sort of evolved really, that I had some mentoring, and my mentor, Celia Lacey, fantastic lady, she said, Jane, I'm giving you a new title. It's the gift wrapping queen. And I said, that's a little bit much, Celia. And she said, no, you just fit it perfectly. And I said, but I'm not a queen. I'm not royalty. But yet when I go over to sort of like the US and do filming out there, they do see me as that, where I just think I'm just Jane from Lincolnshire who has a wrapping business and super down to earth.
No, that's so true, especially in the US with your very British accent.
Yeah.
And the way you carry yourself. 100%. I totally see it. So talk to me about the TV show. How did that happen?
That is so much fun. It's called The Ultimate Gift Wrapping Challenge. And it was back about 2 years ago. And I had an email, and you get a lot of emails about TV and filming, etc. And I take it with a pinch of salt. So, and I normally say, look, let's jump on a call. It'll either work or it won't. And so the chap said, yep, you free for a chat this afternoon? I'm in the US, so yep, that works great for me. And he rang me up and said, I've got an idea about a gift wrapping competition where we have contestants and they sort of battle it through for prizes and for this big $10,000 prize. We would love you to be a judge. And I said, I would love to be involved. I've done quite a bit of judging in my career. I'd love to, but I thought no more of it, and sort of said, where I am, and left it very loose. And literally sort of 2 months later, he emails me again and said, we've got the go ahead for the show. Can you come out in a month's time for a week? And I thought, oh heck, it's September and I'm really busy. So my poor team had to sort of reschedule all of my plans. And I flew out to Philadelphia and was with two other people on the judging panel, Lauren, who's the presenter, and then Alton, who's the other judge as well. We had an absolute ball, and then we filmed the second series last year, and it was brilliant. So fingers crossed it continues. It's an amazing show.
I haven't watched it, but I'm going to take a look. What's been the highlight of that TV show for you? What did you enjoy the most?
I really loved being in the same room with people who are on the same wavelength as me. So, it was not a judge and contestants relationship. To me, we were all friends. And, at lunchtime or when we weren't filming, I would be down. I wouldn't be in the green room. I'd be down with contestants chatting to them. And, they were really chuffed that I'd made the effort to sort of meet them and chat with them. And they've known me for a long time. And it was just lovely just to see their ideas. And I even thought, I want to challenge myself. So one of the challenges was called the Speed Challenge. And during the lunch hour, I thought, I'm going to pretend that I'm a contestant and put myself under pressure with a time scale. And little did I know, but the cameras were filming me and they put it as a segment of the show. And literally after that 5 minutes, I was like a gibbering wreck, Maria. And I thought, I've now got so much more respect for these poor contestants in these challenges. And some of them, I just went, oh my goodness, I'm glad I'm the judge and not the contestant, because that's tough. Full respect.
Well, I guess that's the whole idea, right? When you're putting someone under so much stress and so much pressure to see exactly how they would respond.
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience being the one. It's very easy to criticize.
It is. And also I had my careful cap on, as I called it, that you had to vote people off. You had to be, and I like to be quite straight and upfront and honest, I think is the thing. So sometimes I would have to give quite tough feedback, but would try and deliver it in a really nice way. So although I'm voting someone off, I would say in the second sentence, although I've got to vote you off, you've got a great skill and I would hire you tomorrow. And that would make their day. So, it's being very, very careful. And there are times where you would vote people off and there were tears. And, it's an awful thing you have to do. And I'd be straight down to, to console them and give them a little pep talk and look after them.
I was going to ask you a question. It's like, do you secretly judge people for rapping badly? But the kind of persona I see here is somebody who is just genuinely, very kind and very nice. So I can't imagine that would be the case.
I try and be.
Like you really feel other people.
Yeah, I do. Some of my family will on purpose wrap gifts really badly.
Would they?
Yeah, just for like humour more than anything. Yeah. So, and
what are they hoping to see from you?
What, my family? Do you know what? They're not, I'm not going to say not impressed by me, but because your
Just trying to
family and your good
humble
friends,
you.
they've known me for so many years that they don't care if they give me a bad gift at all. I think it's the people that I don't know so well who really panic. And it's a bit like having a chef for supper that if it's, say, a family member, you go, oh, it's only Emma or only them or Ian, where if it's somebody you don't know that well, you think, I better make a big effort today.
If a gift is really fancy, does it have to be wrapped, in your opinion?
What do you mean? The gift itself is fancy,
Yeah,
as in like an expensive gift?
Yes.
Or quite often I will be very understated with the wrapping. So, for instance, when I'm wrapping I work for Chanel and teach the staff at Chanel, but I have clients who will sell, let's say, a Hermes handbag or a Chanel bag that's going, say, out to the Middle East, and they will often say, this has got to be shipped. So it's got to get to the other end pristine. So some gift wrapping, like the Chanel handbag going out to the Middle East, will be very, very understated, very simple, because I know that if I start tying fancy decorations, it may not get there intact. And I suppose the protection factor comes before the look of it.
So it's not about the wrapping out staging. What's the word? Not out staging. What's the word?
Styling it or
it's about gift wrapping not taking the shine away from the gift itself, like not upstaging it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But I quite like that understated simplicity in a gift, that when you go to somewhere like Jo Malone, Chanel or Dior, even Diptyque, those sort of brands, they're wrapped very, very simply, but to perfection. And I love that.
So it's the quality of it rather than the intricacies.
Yeah. And I think you've got to get the basics right. The sort of the wrapping of the gift needs to be done and needs to look good before you can start embellishing it. And that's one thing I always pick up on with the show.
So when's the season 2 coming out?
Season 2 was last year.
I see.
But it was filmed in September.
Right.
But often with TV, it's a very last minute thing and we don't know.
Yeah.
So watch this space.
Is there anything else that you would like to be involved with?
Yeah, I wrote a book 10 years ago, and at the moment, I'm trying to find a publisher. I'm struggling with foreign rights right now because I approached my publisher a couple of years ago with my second book idea. They absolutely loved it, and we had a chat. And they came back and said, Jane, I think it's just the wrong time. COVID had not long passed, and they said we just can't get the foreign rights. So it's not a no, but it's a no right now. So I'm sort of looking to get that second book published, which is quite exciting.
And can you share what the second book is about?
Yeah, my first book that I did was like a Bible for wrapping. So it's wonderful, the feedback that I heard, that people, when they had to wrap something, they would literally have the book and just literally go to page 17 because they knew that's how you wrap a cylinder. The second book will be sort of, again, a bit of a Bible, but very much sustainable on it, and just bring it up to date as well, because although the last book, I think, will last for years to come, it's just nice just to have some new ideas.
How has the fashion for wrapping changed over the years?
I would say I have noticed a huge increase, not only with wrapping, but I've got my own product range, and the inquiries we get at the trade shows, it's sustainability. And I'm very pro that, because I hated the amount of waste that the wrapping industry caused. And I think we're finally now sort of getting there where sustainability is big on the agenda. So I would say now 9 out of 10 inquiries that we get for wrapping jobs, you have to be sustainable.
Yeah. I mean, I can totally see that. I think it's, when you're seeing how much of it is being kind of wasted and thrown away.
And it's even things like, Maria, the plastic you get around, say, a roll of paper, that we don't need that.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
No, for sure. How are you tackling that?
I'm very lucky. I've got some fantastic suppliers. So, for instance, the wrapping paper that I use, it's printed in the UK with vegetable ink. So there's no miles. It's not coming from China. And I will only buy products from overseas if I can't get them in the UK. And I also recycle everything. So, for instance, on my wrapping courses, we obviously use wrapping and ribbons. And the ribbons that are left over, even if they've been used, I'll take them back home, get them through a hair straighteners and iron them and just reuse them. So there are little tips and tricks, and people love those on Instagram. And
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that you were underestimated?
Do you know what? I've not actually thought about that. Underestimated. Um, I've been on some jobs where, it's quite chaotic, and, you literally sort of put in a room, that needs to be done, doors shut, and you're left to your own devices. But I suppose I've never felt underestimated, because a job needs to be done. People are busy, and certainly like busy professionals, they probably haven't got the time or the interest to sort of spend much time with you. But no, I've never really felt that, to be honest.
One of the things you mentioned is that there was a certain moment in your life where you've changed the perspective on work. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I always was just chasing my tail with work and never wanted to say no, because I felt it was a sign of weakness. And I think with my team at head office, I would feel guilty if I took a day off, or, even a morning off to go and have coffee with friends. And then I think that all changed. Two big things changed for me. That just before COVID, I was poorly. I had a tumour that involved major surgery, and I lost a third of my stomach. So it was a long time recovering. And my mother said, even though I was in my 50s, she said, "Jane, you are not going back to London to recover. You're staying here." So I spent that time with my parents, which was lovely, and just really appreciated family time. And then I think COVID really changed a lot of us. That again, I left London and moved back with my elderly parents and spent quality time, and just thought, you know what? I love my work, but it's not everything, and money is not everything. So I now do not feel guilty for taking a day off. I don't feel guilty for turning down jobs that I feel are going to cause me immense stress, or I'm going to struggle to deliver. I don't feel guilty anymore, because you only live one life, and life is very, very precious.
Do you think that if this is an interesting one, because pretty much most entrepreneurs say, I was really working like a dog, every second of the day, but then I realized that it's not all about that, it's not all about the money. But quite often the fact that you did work all the hours got you to a certain place where you are established, and you can in some ways say no to things because you've already got that foundation. Is that true for you, or do you think it could have been done differently?
I think I could have hired staff earlier. That's probably one of the things I would have changed, because maybe sort of 15 years ago, I was at Christmas time taking every job there was. And I would have been working 16-hour days. I mean, I still work those 16-hour days, but this was day in, day out, and I was getting more and more tired. Come Christmas, I was always guaranteed full of cold. So I think I would have probably had taken staff on earlier. But it scared me. Hiring staff is quite a scary thing. And I never went to business school or anything like that. So I've had to learn the hard way. And I don't regret what I've done, though.
Talking about hiring, how did your business change when you started to do that?
So I was a one-man band until about 2000, and probably about 6, 7. And I remember sort of thinking, I'm going to slightly change my business. It's so seasonal, and I was a part-time florist. It was so seasonal that really I was only busy during the last quarter of the year. The rest of the time, I just trickled through sort of quite steadily, but it wasn't really enough to sort of give me a good life, by relying on that. And I thought I'd like to sort of start designing my own products. And I'd got all these ideas. I did trade shows, a lot of traveling. So I had some great suppliers. And I realized that I was going to have to get some help. Otherwise, I was going to be tied to the office every day by sending parcels out. And I was running a course, and I spotted a lady who was very good at wrapping, and it was up in Lincolnshire. And I said to her, "You're very good at wrapping. If ever you want a job, let me know. You've got my number." And she said, "I am actually looking for a job. But I'm up here, and, London might be a bit tricky. I'm an RAF wife." And it suddenly dawned on me that I thought, actually, I do need somebody part-time to answer the phone and send the orders out. And so I just said to her, Caroline, come on Friday, come for a coffee, let's have a chat. And she started that day, and she was with me for a good 10 years, and she was brilliant. So she definitely gave me the confidence to hire staff and was a brilliant part of the business and proud to work for me. And I was really sad when she left. She moved up to Yorkshire, so she was a big loss when I lost her.
It makes a difference when you have people who are as motivated and excited and as good as what you do, or compliment you in some ways.
Yeah. And I'm really blessed, Maria, that I've got the best staff in the world. The people who are at head office, they are brilliant, and I leave them to their devices, and they're just really proactive. My wrapping team will just jump in at the last minute and work all hours. And if a job goes over and they have to work until late evening, I look after them. Get a taxi, we'll pay you back. And if I look after them, hopefully they look after me.
You come across as somebody who is just very positive and likes to see the good in everything and in everyone. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely.
Have you always been this way?
I have. I think I'm really lucky that health is wealth. If you've got your health, you've got nothing to really worry about. And many of us have got money worries. But I just look at the positivity that I think, okay, I can't have that car, I can't have that, or I can't have that. But, look what I have got. And that a lot of that positivity comes from traveling. That I've just come back from Kenya and seen friends who we know who were street children. And it really brings it to home that I am so lucky that I've got my health and I've got a roof over my head, food and lovely friends and family, and I've got a job.
Which you've created.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. Looking back at your business and yourself, like, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say always look at the pennies, which I have done. Sometimes I've looked at the pennies too much, where I've sort of, I know one of the classic ones was I didn't hire a credit card machine when I did the country living fair, because I think it was another £50, which that to me was like a lot of money. So I did the old fashioned, do you remember the credit cards when they used to do the paper bits? So I did all of those, and I'd literally have a wad by the end of the I think it was a 5-day fair, a wad of these. Then I'd have to go home and put them in manually. And then obviously you'd get a few which would decline, and it was far more than the £50. So, it probably took me half a day to manually put all these numbers in. Then some would decline. So, that £50 I should have spent, but, it was my foolishness and my knowledge, I suppose, that I didn't know. But just all I would say is there's a lot to learn when you're a business owner. There's an awful lot to learn, and just go on as many courses as you can and get as much advice as you can. So when I started out, the thought of having a business bank account or being VAT registered scared me to death. But someone like the Federation of Small Businesses will just give you so much advice. And if somebody hasn't paid you, they've got a legal template that you can use to, rather than get a solicitor to type the letter, they've got all those things. So there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of advice on, even things like sort of LinkedIn and Instagram. So just do your homework and watch your pennies.
No, there's so much resources, especially now. I mean, there's every single course that you can possibly imagine. On Instagram this morning, I came across, I think it was like neuroscience coaching, or like Ikigai coaching. I mean, there's just every single thing you can possibly think of is available. I mean, we live in an age where information it's just like flowing.
I know.
It's knowing how to use it and apply it. And I think, when you're looking back at your business saying, oh, I didn't have an MBA and learn the hard way. Well, that's probably the only way you actually learn.
It was. But it's great with all these courses, but you'll agree that you just don't have time.
No.
When you're juggling
first
motherhood.
You have to do it, and then you have to actually implement it.
Yeah.
And yes, I think it's also being selective about where you go and the kind of information that you get. So, because it is so freely available. But
I know.
But yeah, constant learning. I think that's never going to go away.
Definitely. But I enrolled for, it must be 4 photography courses. I've never done them, and it's just an online learning portal. And I've realised I actually just need to sit down with a photographer and learn about the depth of field and have a one-to-one. That's the only way I'm going to do that course.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, my husband's a photographer.
Fabulous.
Sitting right here.
Watch this space for me.
Anything else you want to cover?
I mean, I've got load of lovely products. And if anybody wants to buy anything, just pop in Maria in capitals, check out janemeans.com, 20% off.
Amazing.
Maria.
I'm going to have a look. Since my name is on there. What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, I think probably, what to be remembered for? I'm not going to necessarily say for my beautiful gift wrapping, but I just think proving people wrong. That was a big thing when I started that. Several people, looked at me and said, this is never going to work. And I just wanted to prove them wrong and have that kick down doors attitude of it can work, and believe your dreams, work hard, and be, I suppose, an ambassador for that.
How did you prove them wrong? Like, was there a specific moment or something that you did differently? What was that?
Early days, nobody did take me seriously, and my dad was one of those. And that actually, for me, was a great motivation that I thought, I am going to prove my father wrong. And I know when I did my book launch, although my dad couldn't come, he just looked at the book. I mean, it was a beautiful, hard book. And he said, I bet that took a lot of work. And that was the biggest compliment I was ever going to get. And there were just moments where I remember, my first job which took me overseas to Canada to do it was a press feature for Winners, the store. And I was talking about their gift wrapping range, and I think when sort of I was flown out of there and when I did my book, the critics sort of soon realised, actually, you've not done too badly at all. So that was great.
Not too bad at all.
Not too bad. That was about the compliment I was going to get.
If you could wrap a gift for the world, what would that be?
Oh, that's if it was a gift for the world, I would probably say, I know this sounds crazy, water pumps for the whole world, so everybody has clean water, because I've seen that very recently, and a friend of mine is involved in all of that throughout Africa, and it's something that we take for granted in the Western world. But when you know friends who've had to save up and buy money to have a well that's drinkable in their garden, it really brings that home to you.
Wow. I was not expecting that, but that's such a beautiful answer.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that we can, wish for the world, but something so simple that we take for granted. And how many of the world doesn't have that?
I know.
I mean,
I'm a water sign, and water's really important to me.
Yeah.
So
when's your birthday?
4th of July.
I'm a July baby
I
too.
do.
Yes.
Good girl.
You're a Cancer. Yes.
I'm a Cancer, but apparently I had my sort of stars read, and they said you're a thorough Gemini, and that makes sense when I look at the traits of Cancer versus Gemini. I am a
you're
Gemini.
on the cusp.
So.
Oh no, you're not on the
I'm
cusp.
not. But
No, it's traits of Gemini. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
But,
life and soul of a party and all
you
that.
really are. That's how we met, at a party.
We did, didn't we?
And you certainly were. And, I was very, very somber that evening, but you
were not at all.
I was in my own world, but you were like, with your spark and your smile. And no, really, thank you so much, Jane. I can see how much you love life, how much joy and love that you put into what you do. And I'm really glad I met you.
You too. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
you and Philippe, for having me.
Thank you so much.
We wrapped it up.